So here we are. So this is going to be a half set of Tai Chi Cha. And so we start with the rocking motion. And so sinking into the right foot, left foot comes out, just a comfortable position. And this is going to be your side-stepping step as well. And back we go, straightening the knees, lifting the toes. So I said a little while back that if you start finding that your mind starts to wander, just come back and do a check-in. You'll find that maybe you're not quite sure how much your feet know about rolling across the ground, or the straightening and flexing of your knees, or the movement of your pelvis, or perhaps even though we don't have a directive breath, that maybe you're noticing your breath is kind of stopped and not really engaged. And so just give yourself a chance to, every once in a while, scan back through, because typically if your mind is wandering, it means you bounced off something that's happening in your body and that there's something to come back and pay attention to. We're going to do this one more time. So back, and then as you come back forward, more weight into your right, left foot comes up. And graceful resting position. The next one is bird flaps its wings. So find the energy ball. And you're going to sink down and forward onto the balls of the feet with your heels slightly lifting, releasing those fingertips. 1, 2. So here's the second, 2, and around, around, 1, 2, and round, and round, and then come up above the belt line and down into your resting position. Okay, now our first forward backward movement. So here we come into the platters. So dropping into that right foot, slightly flexed at the knee, foot comes forward on the left side. We're always going forward. The direction of the platters and of the pulling in the energy is always coming forward on the side of the forward foot. So that means that when we come across to the second side, you're going to come forward over the right foot, and therefore you're going to reverse the circle. Okay. But if you're wondering, if your poor brain is trying to remember all that information, go back to your body. The feel of your weight going forward over the forward foot as you come forward with the platter just has more of a sense of connection. And you can try reversing it. It'll feel odd. It'll feel different. And sometimes it helps just to do something backwards to kind of cement the difference in your body. So you'll get that sense of this feels wrong when you fall into that for some reason. You feel discombobulated on any particular day. We're going to come around one more time. Back and come around. Through the heels of your hands engaging, trailing your fingers back, and come to your resting position. So now we're going to go forward. The platter is going to reverse because we're going to go forward over the right foot. So we start in the center still, but now we come forward over that front weight-bearing foot. And just start to get the motion going. And then once you've got your upper body starting to feel like your hands are engaged, you've got that sense of being centered in the middle of your movement, then you can come back through and see whether with all that focus in your upper body, did you forget something about how your lower body should support this? The slow weight transfer, so the back heel lifts a bit, and then the front toe lifts a bit. That the weight-bearing side, like the front foot right now, is fully engaged with the floor. There's no weight forward on the heel or the toe. Same with the back foot. So that you really get good support as you go forward over or back over the weight-bearing foot. And just feel that massaging off the bottom of your feet. And come around one more time. Feel through the heels of your hands, release, trail back, and then flattening your lower back as my toe comes up, and I come to a resting position. And just wait for your shoulders to drop, for your pelvis to drop a bit. And then we'll do the second side. That was the second side. Now we're going to do the platter variation. So now your hands come up to the same starting position, but now we're going to find that Nerf ball again. So coming forward over the left foot, gather that Nerf ball, release it at the top. The rest is the same, trailing back, gather that Nerf ball over the front foot, release it. And then just start thinking of this as like a gentle massage, like in any place where your habit is thinking of this as something that has force or push to it, just start dropping into how might you let the movement happen. That the parts of you that just draw upon that graceful, innate knowledge of how movement can just flow out of you without being made to do something, just starts to animate your movement so that what sometimes people call Tai Chi, doing Tai Chi, can happen. Let's try that through the right side, and release, and back. So it's a transit through a very similar pathway, but with a different way of engaging. You know, this feeling of gathering energy between your hands is a very different engagement than the first platter, where it just comes gently through the heel of your hand, or with the drop pulling in the energy where there's a focus on your fingertips. So just really getting what this brings for you.
So Surya's feeling a tingling between her shoulder blades. What can she do about it?
So you are going to get lots of different sensory movements happening in your body. I'm going to just finish this one and come back and step back. Let's go forward with the bass drum. So sinking into your right foot, left foot comes forward, hands come out and find that place of engagement somewhere just in front of you. So that would be the first piece that I would say, is just to experiment with allowing the movement to softly work its way through that area, in this case, in between the shoulder blades. But if you find that that particular thing just isn't shifting, it becomes disruptive. Either it hurts too much, or it feels like it's not moving to anything new, take a break. Walk away from it, give it a chance to integrate so that you're not kind of butting heads with it. And almost inevitably, you'll find that if you come back minutes later sometimes, or later in the day, that you'll find that something has already worked its way through just by giving it a little bit of breathing space. So that's kind of the step one, step two way of working with engagement. It's a very relational kind of thing. It's like being in a disagreement with someone else. It's kind of staying present but not pushing, and if it's not going anywhere, then taking a little break, letting the reorganization happen so it's not reactive to the engagement. And I'm going to come through one more time. I know I'm probably past 9. And up, fingers to the ceiling, and stepping back. and then sinking into the left foot, right heel turns out, foot comes forward, and down and forward we go. Now, one thing I don't get a chance to see that I would if we were in a regular class is something which almost inevitably happens, which is that people start dropping into a different pace than I am. And so it's really useful to check every once in a while, because you'll find that your habit is typically going to be a little bit faster than I am. And it's really useful to kind of check every once in a while and just say, well, what's it like to just drop in a little bit slower, to really match the pace that we're going at. And I know that in a room full of people, when we do that, you can start to feel the difference in the room. Like the whole energy in the room starts to grow exponentially. Otherwise, it can feel a little chaotic, actually, if everybody's going at a slightly different pace. So just check on that every once in a while. We'll go one more time. Here we go, forward and flattening in your lower back and coming back. The other thing that people will sometimes notice they're doing, all these things will show up sometimes years later. You'll go, why am I doing that? Is sometimes you'll find that when you finished, you stepped forward. You came forward with your hands. And so just to kind of get that, you finish by stepping back, like that. Okay, so then our next movement is daughter in the mountaintop. So your hands are going to open up, your left foot is going to go forward, and I'm just going to turn it sideways so you can see this. So your left hand is going to be turned in, or sort of on the inside of the circle, always. Now this one is different than the platters, where you change, like you go forward on the opposite shoulder and turn the direction of the platter. The hand always is on the inside on this one. Right, so closer to my chest. Right. 5. Sorry, I may not be exactly in rhythm with you. You might have to just slightly adjust yourself back to finding the pace to come with me. And you can see it's not big. My hands aren't up in front of my nose. They're just coming sort of in underneath my chin, my mouth. And one more time, we'll do this. And your hands come down, and therefore, as you step up, they come over top and to your resting position. And then the same thing on the other side. Palms open, right heel turns out, foot comes forward. Left hand is still on the inside. Slow down, drop into that, out of that doing of the movement, and just get the sense of, sorry, I just wanted to readjust my feet, of how you're just letting the movement, almost like a dream landscape, you're just dropping into feeling the slight pushback of the air, just gently moving through. I'm going to come one more time. In, and then down and open, and in that openness your foot comes up and resting position. Okay. And then daughter in the valley. So left foot turns out, hands come up, down and gather that energy, draw it up through the center and release it. Release, gather, draw up, and release like a fountain. There's a real sense of connecting through your core with this particular movement, because it does have that like straight line coming up through your center. And even when your hands come around the outside, there's still an engagement, like you release, and then you're gradually starting to gather again as you come back. And one last time, forward and release. And back. Give yourself a moment just to feel what's there. So you're not just hanging out waiting for your seconds to be up, but really going, what am I noticing? Where are my feet? Where's my pelvis? Till you kind of get that reconnection. Then the second side. Right foot forward. And release. Yeah, start to perhaps feel how you're starting to drop into this very kind of quiet, being in the center of a space, and just letting it move with you. And we'll come around one more time. Gather, draw up, and release. And then as you come back and open, your foot comes up and in. And rest. Okay. And now we come to carry the ball to the side. So just give yourself a little bit of room. So here we go. Carry the ball to the side. So we're winding up on the right shoulder because we're going to step off to the left, right? Sinking to the right leg. That left foot comes out just the same as if you were doing rocking motion or any of these other things, like just a comfortable distance out. You're not really reaching. Then coming across with your fingertips down toward the ground, over top of the left shoulder, back in front of the right shoulder, and second time, just keeping that Nerf ball of energy engaged between your hands, and the third time, you're coming across over top of your left leg, so therefore the weight is off your right leg, so it can come in as your hand lifts up. Just touch down like a bird on a branch for a moment and back to your wind up over top of the right shoulder. Sink into the right leg, left leg out, and across to the left. 1, 2, and one more time. 3, which is going to bring you over top of that left leg so your right foot can come up, and rest. And again, wind up over your right shoulder, left leg comes out, across to the left. 2, and around, and one more time, across. And I will answer that question about the foot positioning right away. Here we come. Again, not a long rest, just and away you go. Now this time we're going back to the right. So you wind up over your left foot, step out with your right. Now, these feet, as you weight transfer, are solidly on the ground. It's just that the weight is more on the leading the weight-bearing foot. But this foot is solidly on the ground. There's a tendency sometimes to actually have the outside of the foot lift up for some people, which tends to show that there's actually a bit of a tension on the outside of the leg. So to keep the foot solidly on the ground means that you're actually allowing a lengthening to come out through the side of the leg, which is going to really be helpful when we get to our next series of sidestepping movements. So here we come across onto the right leg, and left foot comes up and in. Just a slight drop, wind up on the left, step out on the right. So both feet nicely connected to the ground, except you've got a weight transfer coming across. So now the left foot carries more weight. Now the right foot carries more weight. And as you come across, again, left foot comes up. Is that 3 times across? Been yakking so much. Let me try it one more time, just so you get the feel of it. Over top of the left, step out on the right, across to the right. across, flattening just a little bit in your lower back as you go through the center. And up and in. Okay. And drop. And now we come into our two new movements. So the first one is the push-pull. So we're back to forward-back movements. So sinking into the right, left foot comes out and forward. How am I doing on time? We're doing great. And my hands come up in the center, except this time I'm going to be pushing and pulling, not going around in circles. So they come out evenly, down and turn. So the straight forward back part of this, and I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this, is actually about a third of this movement. The rest of it is turning at front and the back. Like here, you're already turning. Here, you're already turning. So that there's never any kind of stopping and turning at the end. Most of this movement, the 2/3, a third on either end, is this wrist turn. And then just sinking a bit and rising. Rising and sinking with your hands. Which doesn't have to feel like you don't actually have to push down or rise up with your hands, because it's naturally, once you allow it to happen, naturally comes out of the bending of your elbows. And we'll come around one more time. I'm just going to stop here for a second. I really want you to get the feel of this. It's a wonderful part of the movement for getting this feel. Come back for a moment. In this movement, to not get yourself bending forward, you start to really get the feel of something which is so central to a Tai Chi type movement, which is coming from this Dan Chen place. So here you are all the way forward, but not bending forward. Your arms are in this. Can you feel how with the arm position, that it really helps start to bring an awareness down to the rounding of your lower abdomen. And that's a really important place to start to get the feel of, because it will serve you well in all the movements. This one just really helps bring it to the surface. Let's try this on the other side. Right foot, heel turned out. Same motion with your hands, no difference from one side to the other. Heel lifting a bit, toe lifting a bit. Letting that roundness come into your belly, flattening in your lower back. This is 8, so we'll come one more time. And forward. And back. And sink. And then pulling in the energy. So once again, sinking into the right foot, left heel turns out, foot comes forward. Hands come up, just a nice positioning in front of your chest like this. Same thing with this motion. You're not going any further out because you don't want to reach, right? It's just a nice kind of, as you come forward. And oops, sorry, you're coming forward over the forward leg, right? This way and back. So here we go over the left leg. Here and back. Just start to find the pace that you feel like you're engaging with that sense of heavy air drawing through your fingers and then engaging through your fingertips as you go out. And just finding that pace where we just start to drop into letting the movement move. This will be number 8. And around, and one more time. And back. And sink, and then right foot forward. So now we're going to go forward over the right foot. There's a tremendous openness in this movement. The hands don't open and close, right? So the sense of moving into and receiving the yang and the yin in this movement is totally in the fingertips. So there's just a sense of almost like serving and drawing in, of really an openness through the hands the whole time. That really makes this movement a distinct thing in itself. I'll come around one more time. And toe comes up, your hands turn downwards and come back to your graceful resting position. Okay, and then finally, we come to our closing move pose at all times with this, which is the cosmic consciousness pose. So your left heel comes up and rests on the inside of the right ankle bone. Your left hand comes up and is closer to your chest, somewhere just below your mouth, and see if you can, how much you can kind of let your elbows come up parallel to that without straining your shoulders, just kind of feeling like they're engaged. And gradually they'll just kind of reset on their own. And then really feeling that connection through your feet and up through your legs, and then up through your neck. Let your chin just drop a bit, so you're looking through these slightly relaxed parted fingers. So your attention is just kind of down and unfocused that way. And then bring your awareness back to that Dantian area, just below your belly or below your navel, into the lower part of your abdomen. Just find a place where you feel like you have some sense of connection there, and just get how that is connected through to your feet. And just let yourself hang out there and see how your breath wants to be with this. Just let it feel how it wants to engage. And just feel what it's like to be in this place in the world. And then we'll just give it a chance to just drop back down. And we're finished. And then just to come to just a bit of a bowing out, just an acknowledgement of that greater than in the world, that we are just perhaps feeling a little bit more connected to.